All right. I'll call this meeting to order. Special call meeting of the Board of Trustees, beginning at 2 p.m. August 6, 2019, in this conference room at the E.W. Mintz Administration Building. I think he usually says located at 225 College Park Drive, to consider and act on this agenda. Having called this meeting to order, I expect we better pray. But I'm not the world's best prayer. Is there anybody who would volunteer to do that for us? Because Brent's not here.
I'd be happy to do that.
Would you do that, please? I think it's good.
Please bow. Heavenly Father, thank you for blessing Weatherford College with exceptional leadership in the form of our Board of Trustees, with exceptional faculty and staff, and our incredible student population. We pray that you will empower us to serve and meet their needs. Please be with us today as we deliberate over the budget for the forthcoming year. Thank you for all that you've done for our college, for our community, and for our country. We especially would ask you to be with the families of those in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio that are struggling with the recent tragic events. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we're to commence for the budget workshop, and are you going to start it, sir?
No, ma'am. At this point, we would turn it directly
Just
over
turn
to Dr.
Andrea.
Cantrell.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Andrea.
Well, we're here to present the 1920 budget for the coming year, and what I plan to do to start off with is to look at the budget as a whole, and then at the last I'll come back in and look at Wise County specifically for Dr. Marlette's purposes, mainly all of yours, but specifically his. Today we're going to look at the appropriations, tuition and fees, local taxes. As far as revenues, those are our three main. And then a light review of expenditures such as salaries, health insurance, supplies, travel, equipment, technology, maintenance and operations, major repairs, performing scholarships, debt service, and our reserve fund balances. And then after that, we'll go into the Wise County budget. The proposed budget is presented as a balanced budget for all of your purposes as of today's date. Revenues and expenditures total $60,269,000, which is a $4.2 million increase over last year. This budget has been adjusted for the most recent information available. I will tell you, when this was prepared and we mailed it in the packet, or we sent it to the packet over to Teresa on Friday, we did not have all of the information available from Wise County. Just recently, this morning, I've been given some information. We haven't adjusted the budget. We will probably, I'll talk to you a little bit later, adjust it by Thursday, but I can tell you what the scenarios will bring. Once again, this is a summary of the budget. We'll go through and look at it a little closer. The total revenues have increased 7.61%, $4,264,000, as I told you. State appropriations have increased by $597,000, or 7.06%, and student aid has increased $523,000, due primarily to an increase in Pell Grants and student subsidized loans. Operating grants have increased by $90,461. Tuition and fees have increased by $984,309, or an 8.88%. Local taxes for Parker County have increased by $1,706,568, or 11.92%. Local taxes for Wise County branch maintenance tax, now that's something that I will add later, because I went ahead and showed our Wise County taxes flat of last year. Local funds other have increased by $280,000, due primarily to an increase in interest rates on investments. Thank goodness we got all of our interest CDs rolled over at the right time, so we've got a pretty good rate for a year. Auxiliary has decreased $59,000, mainly due to the decrease in bookstore commissions, and basically that bookstore commission is due to the competition mainly out there. It'll probably increase a little bit more in the coming year with the type of resources that we're providing to students. So that's not untypical from other colleges in the state. They're all experiencing the same thing. WC transfer from reserve has increased. It shows in this $293,000 to $606,000, but this figure will change, I feel, with the adoption of the new tax rate as proposed or as discussed today by Judge Clark.
Why did state appropriations increase? I thought they were always going down.
Well, as a percent of the whole, they are going down of our whole budget, but we had a fairly good year, I would say, with the state appropriations as far as that goes. But I'll show you in just a minute how that worked.
Okay.
But it's never enough. Like I think I wanted to point out later, we were at 25% back in 2 or 3 years ago. We dropped to 21% now. Back in the 80s when we started Leela, they were at 75%. So
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
they have decreased greatly over the years. The next slide right here and shows all of our revenue sources and how they have been affected over the last year. According to the amended budget, your state appropriations have risen just a little bit there. Student aid has gone up some. Operating grants a little bit. Tuition and fees, we're up that $900 and some odd thousand there. Local taxes, this is based on a recommended figure to you all. Local funds, other auxiliary is down just a fraction because of those bookstore revenue. Debt service is almost flat, construction fund flat, and transfer non-mandatory is up just a little bit, but once again, I believe that transfer will go down and just be about flat when we're at the end of by the time we get all the appropriation taxes approved. The next slide shows our tuition, taxes, and appropriations. The red line is your taxes. 46% of the budget is paid for by local taxes, is what it will show. The blue line, tuition and fees at 33%, and the bottom line is appropriations, the green, at 21%. And that's how it, since 2009 and 10, how it has changed. And you all feel free to ask questions as we go along. We're very comfortable, and it's better when you've got it on your mind many times. The 86th legislature state appropriations is $9,059,678 per year for the 2020 biennium. This equates to $597,713 increase over the 85th legislature. In the proposed 1920 budget, appropriate represent 21% of the three major revenue sources. Representing, and in 2009, just as we looked at before, it was 25%. That appropriation, Leela, at this time, it was split up to us under core operations, and this was when they changed performance-based funding. They gave everyone a base appropriation at that time. We started out with $500,000. Since that 2013, they have raised it to the $680,406, that everyone gets a base amount. And actually, when that happened, a lot of the very large colleges gave up quite a bit of their funding to help give everyone a base. Student success points, $967,298, which we did very well there. That helped offset probably a little bit of downturn in the enrollment numbers. Our contact hour, we received $7,411,974.
And Andrew, student success is database, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Our tuition and fees, net estimated tuition and fees total $12,067,000, and that represents, as we've talked about before, 33%. In 2009, we were at 32% of the three major sources. Estimated tuition and fees have increased by $984,000 and are based on increases in tuition as approved by the board back in March. And those vary. I think the in-district was 5%, Wise County's was 6%, and I think they went all the way up to 8% on the tuition and fees. Increase in required exemptions was $177,375, so that nets out of that the maximum figure that we receive, and increases in required TPEG transfers of $7,500. Historically, schedule of our tuition rates for you all just to see, and I'm going to give you all a copy of this when we leave here, so you'll have it for your record, or if you want to go back and review it this week. Since 2008, 2009, in-district has increased from $59 to $89. Out-of-district, $85 to $143. Out-of-state, $131 to $202. Wise County, 85 to $110, and the Granbury, 99 to $132. The fall as compared to other schools in the state, our last fall, 2018, I don't have all the figures for this year, but I'm assuming most of them will be raising their tuition and fees. But we ranked 15th lowest in the state. And I will say 6 of those under us were very large colleges, such as Lone Star, Houston, San Jac, Dallas, Tarrant, and Collin, the huge ones and I will say we tied with Austin at that 15th spot. So I think we're doing very well to compete at where we are, but that in the long run, I mean, they have such a huge tax base that we're doing very well right now, but it is going to, over time, I mean, it will have to increase unless the state does increase more in the next biennium. Hopefully they will be able to, but that I have no indication that it will. But and that's one reason with, I think, in looking at our buildings that we're doing and tuition revenue bonds and all that, that we're looking at what we're doing with taxes right now. Local maintenance and operations tax revenue is in the budget at this point in time of $18,694,000. That includes $15,435,000 from Parker County ad valorem property taxes and $3,259,000 from the Wise County branch maintenance tax. Now, Dr. Marlette, I think you were not in here yet. I just received right before I came over here some information from Ann that figure will change. I think that figure is going to $3,500,000.
That's correct.
And so that will be adjusted through this budget when we come back on Thursday.
The discussion is that it'll increase by $500,000, but it doesn't look quite that way with these numbers. But anyway, it's a significant increase.
Yes, it is.
And that increase is not because it went up on the taxes, it's because the property value went up. They dropped the taxes on lots of things, but they held them for Weatherford College, held up the level.
And we're very appreciative.
And so that should go up significantly.
If you don't mind me interjecting, I would just like to publicly say for the record how appreciative I am of our highly valued partners in Wise County working so collaboratively with us.
Sure, yes.
And one thing I will say, this $15,435,232 we were able to drop our rate of 11,947 down to, I believe, 11,256. So it's under, and still under the maximum rollback rate, but it is a drop in rate for the Parker County taxes. The property values for 2019 certified on July 17th for Parker County was $14,725,826, an increase of 16.6%. Total new construction of $602,000 is included in the estimated taxable values. Frozen values of over 65 homesteads have continued to increase. They're currently projected at $2,246,827,980. Administration is recommending at this time that we recommend a total tax rate of 11,495, which is above the effective tax rate of 10,684, but under last year's total rate of 11,947. Questions, Leila? You look like you have a.
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
This rate will be a sufficient rate of revenue to fund the necessary budget for the 2019 and meet the needs of the college for the coming year. Once again, I think this next page is just a little repeat of what we've talked about. Basically, where will we, that's an additional $1,706,000 in Parker County ad valorem taxes. Basically where those dollars have been placed, major repair and renovations, lots of deferred maintenance, and a little bit further I'll show you on those major repairs exactly what's being done. Compensation contingency that we placed in there of $150,000. Right now we're still, I think, considering some compensation issues that are there on some labs and different things. And then we've talked about some merit increases along the way during the year that would possibly fall in that place. Vehicle replacements of $100,000. It will be time to replace another Suburban and another car or something as such. We had a Toyota that we'll replace. Utility increases of $206,568. This is tax rate comparison to the state average. If you'll look over there on the far end, it's the difference. The blue is your state average. It goes all the way last year to 0.18394. Our rate was 11,947. So there's a wide discrepancy. Our recommendation will be 11,495. And so that is a very, right, very steep curve there. This is page right here tells us a little bit about what the individual people's tax bills will look like and how they're split up. When they get a tax bill, it'll come as a total figure, but it'll be split up into Weatherford ISD, City of Weatherford, Parker County, Weatherford College, Hospital, and Lateral Road. Now, this is Parker County, Dr. Marlev. The average resident in Parker County for 2019 is $228,747. With this tax rate that we're recommending, the rate will drop from by $10.34 down to the 11,495. Will cause a decrease because of our drop in rate.
Okay.
Question? We are the 12th lowest in the state on our tax rate. And once again, you see those very large colleges spread throughout, but you've got Austin, Lone Star, Houston, Collin, and Tarrant County is much higher than we are. So it's very interesting when you look at that, but we are at a very low rate. And talking with a lot of the other chief financial officers, the time I was visiting with them back in June, it seemed pretty, they all would be raising their tax rates. So I think whatever we do will fall pretty much in line with what a lot of the others are doing. This is the tax rate calculation for us, and it shows you a little bit. Our current rate was 11,947. Then you move over to the 8% rollback that we can't go over, and we're recommending adopting the 11,495, which would generate at the bottom of that yellow column 1,706,000, as we pointed out before. I'm going to go ahead and discuss, and then we can discuss a little bit more, Dr. Marlette, at the very end. We're going to talk specifically Wise County, but right here I wanted to talk about the total budget as a whole. The 2019 total taxable value for Wise County properties have been certified at $8,146,000. New improvements have added since January 1st were $175,808,880, and the 2019 frozen values of over 65 homestead total $465,546,000. The Wise County branch maintenance tax revenue is currently budgeted at the same amount, and I've explained that to you, but that will be changed by Thursday to reflect the information they gave us today. And using the same tax rate as last year, a transfer from reserves will be necessary in the amount of $606 is what we're saying right now. But we believe that we're talking later on in the sentence that if we change it to what Judge Clark told us today, to remain at the .04400 and under the rollback rate of 0.44259, it will produce approximately $3,514,000 and will add an additional $255,000. This could offset the required transfer of $606, leaving a required transfer of $350,604. Now this may be up or down. Seems like when Ann sent us that figure a few minutes ago, it was $3,500,000 instead of the $514,000. But she discounts it at times for collection rates and all that, and I always take the figure that she sends to us. So that will be. The Wise County, the new improvements of $175,808, and then the frozen, I've already given that to you. This represents a 9.98% increase over the 2018 certified value of $7,407,270,000. We're glad we're on that end of it instead of going the opposite way. Any questions on revenues this time? Review of expenditures, administrative. Now, I was visiting with Dr. Farmer yesterday, and he pointed out that administrative looked high compared to instructional of $8,796,000, and I told him I agreed. But I will say that is how we're classified here. That is not actually administrative line items. When I went back and reviewed it a little closer, we in Human Resources, they classify us administrative or instructional faculty. Is how we're split up on our salary scales, are classified hourly, and total salaries. Actually, when you adjust that, and I did not go back to change this, but your administrative, if you pulled out all of your administrative instructional people and put those in instruction, the mix would go, the administrative to $4,290,000 to instructional of $10,803,299. So we just had to, according to HR, is how we run those salaries to start with.
Mm-hmm.
So classified at $3,342,000, classified hourly $113,000, and total salaries $18,540,000. A 4% increase has been included in the 2019-20 budget for all full-time personnel, totaling $667,806. No new personnel positions are included except for the new programs which we have, and those were, we expanded their, the BSN, I think we had 99,000 in salaries for this coming year, and then for the vet tech, 130,000 salaries and benefits there. Overload and part-time salaries have been increased by 8%. Contingency compensation.
I'm saying, because that was your motion when we talked about that.
The pay raise?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that particular point.
Contingency compensation, as I had mentioned, has been added to
ma'am.
include proposed lab compensation and miscellaneous personnel is merited.
Question,
Yes.
how does that 4% for us in the increase compare with other colleges of our same
Other
size,
colleges,
of
I
our
will
same
say, they're probably averaging out at closer to 3%, but I'll say we're behind, and we know that. And so this will help us achieve an average.
In the total salary,
Sir?
behind in the salary per.
Yes, our average salaries.
Average salary is behind.
And I don't think we had done a good bonus or a pay raise in quite a while. I think that's why we decided on 4%.
We have,
They said last Christmas.
Yeah.
I think I've
Yeah,
got
and
that in
was
here
In a
somewhere.
long time or something.
Yes.
So, and this was in June when I last really visited with everyone. There was one or two that were doing 5%. I will say that. And one or two that, I mean, a few that were doing 4, but the average I would say would probably be 3. There were some of these, there was a handful of schools that didn't get any increase at all in their appropriations, so they're probably struggling quite a bit. It's all said and done. Does that answer your question, Dr. Marlette?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You'll move to the next page. That'll show you what we've done over the past few years. Over the last, it's been 3%. We've except for 2011-12, we didn't get, as it was 0%, but there was a bonus added at Christmas. But that bonus doesn't stay with us as we move forward. If you look at the inflation rates, they've eaten most of those raises up.
Yeah.
And our proposed 4% increase for 2019-20 instructional salaries, and these are purely instructional salaries, $314,699. Administrative salaries, $226, and that's probably includes your instructional administrators there. Classified salaries, $122,691. Classified salaries hourly, $4,346 for a total of $667,806.
So, excuse me, you're talking department chairs.
Yes, like
Okay.
deans,
Yeah.
or your deans and all those. And even our executive cabinet members and out of the instructional areas.
That's how it's broken down, okay.
Okay. The next page, salaries among all Texas community colleges. It shows, and this is an old one, 18-19. We don't have new figures. It shows average of 53,158. I think when you look at a 4% increase on that, that'll bring it up to about 55. I know when you look at the Texas Coordinating Board Almanac, they're showing the average rate to be right at 56,000. So this raise this year will enable us to catch up, and we're hoping next year we could bring us on to that average.
Forgive
least.
me, 56,000 relative to what?
56, it may be 56 to 57. I thought I had that written in here, but it's in the Texas Almanac.
Yeah.
And it's saying 56 is the average faculty member for a Texas community college.
Average salary.
2 year,
Average
average salary.
And we are?
Well, right here, this last year was 53. With this 4% in here, I think that's bringing us to right at 54, 55, right in there. So it's helping us. It should help move us with a little bit, since we're more than the average increase across the state, I believe. So that should help us gain.
Do we have any numbers like that relative to the outcome of the college? That is to say, the average graduating student, the numbers divided into those kinds of things. In other words, per student, how efficient are we? I just wonder if we have any kind of data like that.
I'm sure we do. I mean, I don't have that in mind, but we would have the cost per student, you know, of our total cost, the FTE, numbers like that we would gauge by.
Okay. Just curious.
Benefits, this coming year, the group health insurance remained the same, which was very good, but the teacher's retirement system contribution rate has increased over the 2018-19 from 6.8% to 7.5%. And I think that cost us roughly $40,000, I think it was. In the past, when we have gotten stipulated raises with TRS, the board has come back and considered ORP. There is going to be another increase next year. It's a staggered increase over the number of years for TRS, and this is to sustain the TRS program. It's to help them. So we will look at that closer. This was a little bit late to do any study with the ORP or any recommendation therefore, so I thought next year we could possibly look at something to allow you all to look at the personnel that are on ORP instead of the TRS. And these are the next year, the coming rates. We have the health insurance rates in here. Very fortunate on that they did not raise those. Now the next page we talk about supplies. Administrative supplies totaling $865,000 shows to be a increase of $241,000. Actually, for office supply, the instructional supply, all those supplies, it was basically $4,000 decrease. But when we were budgeting additional deferred maintenance, there's many of the items that we do for maintenance that falls into the supplies category.
Okay.
So it was budgeted there, which it made it look like supplies, but those are for incidental things that we do, like a lot of the things with the landscaping and things like that, small building construction, walls and things like that will fall into that area. And then instructional supplies total $310,000, which is a $5,000 increase over the 2018-19. Travel is decrease, $2,633 decrease over the 2018-19. Yes, sir.
Are you saying that campus maintenance, landscaping is all under that administrative supplies?
It's just, I'm summarizing all of my line items, supplies line items, and that's where it would fall.
That's where campus maintenance can fall.
Well, there's a line item that's labeled that, but summarizing how it's categorized supplies if it's a certain dollar amount. And so therefore it would be shown in that big line item.
And there's I don't know, because I came from downstairs, the instructional people, well actually staff and everybody in the big men's room downstairs, they're doing a swap thing, like if you got printer's ink and stuff that you don't need it, and they're really trying to save. I think it's a wonderful idea.
They do that quite often.
Yeah.
I see things come across. If we're not needing
somebody
this,
can
you
use
need
it, and who knows, and yeah.
Is that usual that the campus maintenance would be under that category? It's not completely separate?
It is separate with the line items, Dr. Marlette.
Okay.
But it's just like down when you go into maintenance, I'll have, contract services, I'll have supplies, I'll have equipment. And so it just falls under supplies is a certain dollar amount. So it is supplies, but it is in the line items categorized under maintenance and major repair and renovations. I do a lot of talking with my hands, I think. I can see that.
Best way.
It may not help you, but it helps me. Okay, equipment. Equipment totals $1,189,000, an increase of $358,000 over the 2018-19 budget. We showed contingency dollars of $400,000. We've got we're doing a lot of moving around, a lot of changes. We just like moving the physical therapy program, occupational therapy program, moving them to this campus. There's a lot of needed things, looking forward to expanding programs and all that we raised our contingency dollars from $200,000 this year to $400,000 for the coming year. Other equipment budgeted throughout the budget represents new equipment. Now this is things that we knew we needed, such as the vet tech assisting program, the BSN program that required things that most of them was instructional, and that we absolutely know we go ahead and budget that in the line items. But that contingency many times is for items that break and can't be repaired, or things like that. Or things that come up incidental through the year that we have to have. The major additions to the budget equipment is $75,859 for the emergency power unit and router for the technology services, $60,000 for an ultrasound machine for sonography, $70,000 for a new truck for truck driving, $35,000 to upgrade the radiology technology energized lab to a digital x-ray lab, $37,500 for veterinary assisting for audio-visual technology for the animal shelter, $31,500 for the police radios for campus police. But those were the major additions that I was showing. There's a lot in there, a lot smaller than that, but those were our major.
Is the truck driving, is that a replacement or is that an additional, or the new truck?
I'm not absolutely certain on that. It's probably a replacement, and we'll probably have it retired. Mike could better answer that. I'm not savvy.
Okay.
In technology, our major cost there, the Aleutian colleague implementation of $927,000, continued this one addition. Well, we will continue throughout this next year, and then a portion of the following year will be cost associated with the Aleutian. Final year of Genzabar support. We'll phase that Genzabar or the POIS system out during this next year, because we're running side by side for right now. Capital equipment leases of $155,000, and those are probably computers at this time. And then additional employee computer lease program of $15,000. New initiatives, redundant link to the internet, $90,019. Data center upgrades of $105,000, which includes the UPS, router, and storage for us. Additional malware protection of $13,600, and double the AV recording capability of the college of $22,400. Major maintenance, operation, and major repairs. In this figure, we have a total of $2 million in the major repair and rehabilitations this year. We did increase that quite a bit. The CBRE contract was increased by 3% for a total budget of $2,109,000. That 3% is just it was already bid in the original contract 5 years ago, I believe. And we will rebid that in the coming year. The major repair and renovation, we did the parking lot construction and maintenance. We're going ahead and placing in there right now. Library railing modifications, medicine system upgrades. The medicine system is the one that allows us to control the different classrooms, the efficient energy. The HVAC unit replacements throughout the year, electrical panel upgrades, concrete repairs, fire alarm replacements, landscaping, classroom and restroom modifications, and emergency repairs.
And this is for all campuses.
This is everyone. Okay, the next slide that I have talks about scholarships. The scholarships has increased from $907,000 to $1,066,526. They do this figure. I think we added 4 new scholarships. I believe we had 2 for baseball, basketball, and women's basketball, and then 1 for rodeo. Softball already had the 15, and then we also added another one in the fine arts area. We have 4 other areas: cheerleading, choir. We no longer do the communications and yearbook, but drama, and then I believe the jazz band, that have not ever been at the magnitude that we are doing right now in athletics. And so we usually do basically a percentage based on the increase in tuition and fees of what they've used in the past in those areas.
Excuse me, so there'll be more jazz band scholarships?
It was just adjusted. I don't think they had used all of theirs from last year, so we ended up not increasing because they didn't use all that was allocated from this last year.
I'm so dumb and I'm sorry, but explain to me the cheerleading.
Cheerleading, $15,000. We have a cheerleading team. I don't know that we give any room scholarships at this time. We were spending quite a bit more on cheerleading, but I think we cut that back a few years ago, feeling like it was not a full athletic program, but we do spend $15,000 with them. And that is under, I think, I forget who, I don't have a lot of help.
Doug Jefferson.
Doug
Yeah,
Jefferson
Okay.
works with them.
Thank you.
I'll get more
Good, because I still
information
understand.
for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I will.
Thank you very
'cause
much.
I'm just not, usually Mike's here or someone else, so this is Arlene, this might be yours from the past. Okay. Debt service is almost flat. Your 2012 revenue bond of $548,000, maintenance tax note payment $234, 1996, which we refinanced in 2016 of $590,000, and notes payable SunTrust for a performance contracting that we did at $292,000, for total debt service of $1,665,000. Now, in anticipation of building the new building with a tuition revenue bond, that will, depending on the final dollar, I would look for that to go to $2 million too, something like that in the future. That's a guesstimate, a stab in the dark. The next slide I have for you is to show you where we are with unrestricted reserves at this time. Our policy is, the policy reads 20% of your ensuing fiscal year budget. So calculating that, we look at Fund 10, Fund 15, and Fund 51. Your 10 is your regular operating budget, your 15 is your auxiliary budgets, and 51, I believe, is your construction. So your ensuing fiscal year unrestricted original revenue budget is $42 million. this is last year, I'm looking at what's been certified to us. So your ensuing year unrestricted revenue budget, we would have $8,403,000 there. Then you have to go back, your unrestricted fund balance in all of those areas, 10, 15, and 51, which are, we have a total of $18,870,000, less your $8 million your ensuing fiscal year, 20% of your ensuing fiscal year, which comes down to $10,467,684. That's a net unrestricted fund balance in excess of reserves. Now that's what I'm telling you there is normally what I would tell you, okay, this is unrestricted dollars to the college. That's what you could go to for building purposes or any lawful purposes that the board may. But you look at that next line item there, it's $6,655,000. Well, the $6,655,000 has to do with the GASB 68 and 75. It's a booking thing for retirement, state retirement fund, and our depreciation numbers that we have to go ahead and book as a liability. It's really, we haven't spent it, and hopefully we'll never have to spend it, but it still has to be booked on the financial statements. But as far as cash dollars go, to be able to spend, we've got $10 million there. And that other is $8 million is net of those other costs that we've got as liabilities out there. So, and a lot of, we've talked about it, the other chief financial officers and I, and we've talked about it, it's very misleading a lot of time with boards. You know, the push with GASB is to make it more user-friendly, and what they've done basically, they've made it more complicated for a lot of the users because of those liabilities they're requiring us to book that more than likely we will never have to expend. But I wanted you all to be aware of those. And then we're going to just look at Wise County a minute, unless y'all have some more questions about the total budget.
What's the total debt that we're paying debt service on?
That $1,600,000 in debt service.
Debt service, but what is that debt?
It's for buildings that we built.
I understand. I mean the amount. What is that debt?
Oh, I don't have that figure with me, but I will get it for you. I would.
Okay.
Okay, let me get it for you.
Yeah, well, that's
Okay.
it.
I brought me a pad so I know what y'all wanted to know.
How much is that?
I mean, I may have that right here. Let me have to think of it. No, I don't. I'll have to get it for you, Dr. Marlett. I thought maybe it might
That's
be.
okay, thank you.
But I will get it. Wise County. This is what the Wise County budget extrapolated from the large budget. This is what it looks like at this time. The state appropriations, 236. Now there was a drop in state appropriations from the prior year. And one of those, that is the amended, the 410,000 was the amended budget last year. And the state appropriations, once we get new figures from the state, we go back and figure a percentage of appropriations as percentage of contact hours. And so it dropped 236. We had a drop in enrollment in Wise County. So that's where that was decreased. The tuition and fees is projected to be up for this coming year, but I've just been told that we're down somewhat there. So we may have a concern. We've got to watch that closely. The local taxes, we will increase that figure by Thursday. Hopefully I will adjust that and have it at the correct figure of $3,500,000 approximately. Local funds other, $64,771. that has to do with charges for different, you might have insurance for ADN program students, and you might have like if for fees for classes, like or sales that classes may have, certain ones. Like if you had agriculture, it would be an agriculture sale of a animal or something like that in those figures. Your auxiliary, 58,119, that is bookstore right there. And then construction, but no construction fund. Transfer non-mandatory, we're showing 606, but we will lower that down to the 350, something like that, thousand there. Then on the expenditures, it's split up in student personnel, 161,000, WCWC, that's their general line item for their administration of 69,651. Campus security, 108,819. General institution, 3,052,000. And in that general institution figure is, and I'll discuss it a little bit more in a minute, but that your lease on the building falls in that area, general institution, and it's about 2,700,000. I've got that figure. I'll give you in just a second. Resident instruction, academic, 870,569. Resident instructional, vocational, 893. Our library costs, 31,714. Community education, 2,066. Plan operations and maintenance of 493,000. Student aid, and in that plan operation maintenance, also your utilities are all in there also. Student aid, 5,000, and auxiliary services, $4,030. Here, I've already touched on this a little bit. That showed an increase of 275, but that bill will be reduced. Appropriation dollars were reduced 236 due to lower than anticipated enrollments. Tuition and fees were increased by 149 due to increase, and I've touched on most of those. The transfer from reserve necessary to balance the proposed budget at this time was 606, but we'll change that. Major changes in expenditures. Our lease went up by 71,000 this year, 575, to meet the needs to pay the bond on that. Instructional costs increased by 140,000, 179. Technology equipment increased by 41,000, and those were our major increases in Wise County. We showed this to you all last year, and I think it helped make a lot of sense to people that were to understand where the maintenance tax goes and what it pays for at Wise County. We pay the lease, $2,788,000 is what the lease is for this coming year. Insurance, $67,500. Maintenance, $321,275. Utilities, $172,000. And total remaining for campus services, it's in the negative if we were to stay at the effective rate that they were recommending, which the next shows going to the what Judge Clark was talking about, the 0.0444. So with that, we would have a little bit extra, 165, 198 to be absorbed in the budget in other areas. Questions? I didn't go ahead and put that rate. I was waiting for discussion if you all had any discussion today on that rate, but I'm assuming I'll fill that in at 0.04400.
Yeah. I'm supposed to say the same.
Estimated Wise County Reserve fund balance. The first is based on the budget I've just given you. The reserve funds at 8/31/18 was $2,950,282. Those were certified reserve funds for Wise County. Out of that, we have $2 million is restricted. We originally had 300 and some odd thousand on that less estimated transfer reserves, but at this point in time, it looks like we're only gonna use at the max 150,000. So that would leave a balance at this time, at the end of August of this year, at 800,282.36. Estimated transfer, we originally said we were gonna do 606, but right now it looks like it's approximately 350,000. So we would carry, we're projecting at the end of next summer, a reserve in excess of the 2 million of 449,678.36. Any other questions? I think that's about questions.
Would it be possible, maybe Thursday, to get me or get a list of everybody who gets a cell phone and how it's broken out? Because I see big differences in the, and I'm assuming they're by departments, but some of them go from a very reasonable amount to quite an eye-opening amount, and so.
Right, I will be glad to get that for you.
That's a good question.
Just, I'm sure it's necessary.
And it's, we have allocated cell phones mostly according to emergency needs that are, say, coaches that are out in the field with players, if you, and then administrators.
Sure.
And all that, but I will get that for you.
And then there was a charge, and we might go over this, for campus security for community relations. What all does that mean exactly? You don't have to answer it now, just maybe Thursday, if you could educate me a little bit
Okay.
more clearly on what that means.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
If I get that ahead of time, would you like
It
me
doesn't
to
matter.
email you? Or?
Yeah, just whatever's convenient for you.
Okay. I'll be glad to get anything you all would like to see.
And I'm in no rush, just for point of clarification.
Well, overall, it does look that we're in pretty good shape. Better than we have been
Well,
in
we
some
have a
the
lot
years.
of deferred maintenance on this campus. There's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
I mean, when you look at a tax rate as low as ours been over the years, trying to sustain ourselves, we've tried to keep it low. We are asking to take that next step up to deal with some of those deferred maintenance and trying to grow this college to the next level. Would that be fair to say, Dr. Farmer?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, I've presented mine and I'm finished if you all. I got you up.
You're awesome.
Thank you.
You were gonna hand us something?
Oh, yes, I am. I certainly am. I want you all to have, and I think you all have at your places, I've given you a copy of the effective tax rate for Parker County that is appearing in the paper today.
Yeah.
And I believe they told me, they sent me the effective tax rate for Wise County, and I think it ran this weekend already. And that's always one of the, I like for that effective tax rate to run before we propose on Thursday. So that it talks about your last year's rate, your effective rate, and what the rollback rate would be on those two forms. And then these are just copies of the presentation if you want to refer back to them. And you've got your budgets there.
Thank you very much for putting it in layman's terms.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Oh, I love that graphic.
There you go.
I love that.
And anybody that- And I had lots of help to get this here. I certainly didn't do it on my own. I have a great team in my area.
Madam Chair, if I may interject before we move to the next item, I'd like to commend Dr. Cantrell and her team on They were presented with a wealth of opportunities to refine our existing budget, and they've stepped up to that challenge and done a tremendous job, and I'm very appreciative of all their efforts, and I think they are positioning us with a very good starting point moving in to the next academic year.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
We're
thank you.
grateful as well.
Appreciate it.
Speaking for myself, it's a huge job, and you know, when you put something in like a salary increase, you know, that just changes. It's like you've got the dominoes lined up, and then they start falling. You have to change.
It's a never changing.
Yeah.
Changes daily.
Okay, so do we need a closed session?
Yes, ma'am, a brief
Okay.
closed session.
Okay, at this point, we will
Can we
take
have
a short break
Yeah.
and go into closed session. We are back in session. The closed session does not require any action, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
A second.
Thank you. Done.